If you need immediate help, please call the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP.
Bottle of wine, fruit of the vine. When you gonna let me get sober? Let me go home and start over.
Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio, brought to you in part by Jefferson University Hospitals and Thomas Jefferson University, providing excellent clinical and compassionate care in the Philadelphia region, a proven leader in healthcare and education since 1825. And now, here are your hosts, Gary Hendler and Mark Sigmund.
Hey, hi, everybody, and welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. Clean and Sober Radio features real people with real stories about addiction to drugs and alcohol. I want to let everybody know we are Clean and Sober Broadcasting is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that empowers people and families who are dealing with drug and alcohol addiction to solve their problems and help those who cannot. We do it through direct advocacy, broadcasting, and maintaining a database of recovery centers and related information. If you need help at any time, please call us at 1-888-728-9941. Mark Sigmund, the injured Mark Sigmund.
Yes, the injured Mark Sigmund.
What's new this week in recovery news?
So out of Paterson, New Jersey, a 3-alarm fire that burned through a marijuana dispensary is now being investigated as possible arson. The flames broke out just after 6:15 a.m. Friday inside a 2-story building. The back part of the building is an addition to the original structure. Huge fire. The owner, this is a quote from the owner. I lost everything, about $200,000 worth of cannabis products. They also had a death of a dog. 6 apartments were burned out because of this fire.
Well, I'll tell you something. The thing that bothers me the most is the death of the dog.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. And you don't know how this happened. Again, being investigated as arson right now, but we'll have to kind of stay tuned and see what the investigation pans out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like anybody to be hurt or killed.
No.
The rest of it, whatever. What else you got, brother?
So another story involving marijuana. This comes out of Redding, California.
Ooh.
A few third-grade students were rushed to the hospital after reportedly ingesting marijuana gummies on school campus. According to a parent, a student brought the THC gummies to school and shared them with his classmates. Some students experienced symptoms including a racing heart and trouble walking. The incident occurred before school began at Turtle Bay Elementary, according to the principal of the school. She says, we hold the safety and well-being of all our students to the highest priority. And now they're doing some education to the kids about marijuana. And, this is something that you and I have worried about a long time is, they're putting THC in gummies and candy and brownies. And, you take a little kid and they ingest this stuff, it's going to be big problems. It's
really terrible. It's irresponsibility of adults who are ingesting this stuff. I mean, kids are off limit, man.
Yes.
It's 2 interesting stories. Pretty interesting. Listen, here's the question of the day for our audience, Mark. Let's just say you're sitting in a restaurant and you look across the room and you see somebody who you've seen in meetings and you've always thought they were in recovery, and you see that they're drinking what you believe is alcohol. It looks like it. What do you do? Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we want the audience involved. We want your opinion. What would you do in that situation and other uncomfortable situations relating to addiction? We'll be right back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey everybody, this is Tommy James, and you're listening to Clean and Sober Radio, and so am I.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Always enjoy Clean and Sober Radio on WWDB in Philadelphia, WPEN 97.5 FM, HD2 in Philly, WGAC in Augusta, Georgia, and WJBR 1010 in Tampa, Florida. I just love that song, Mark.
It gives me chills a lot of times because here you have somebody's using dope in their basement.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if it's his wife or his family is at the top of the stairs and they can't get away from their drug. And I think a lot of us can really relate to that, don't you think?
Absolutely. It always gives, seriously, not to the extreme, but it gives me shivers down my spine. You know, the song is in a minor key and it's eerie and the subject matter is horrible.
Horrible. You know, and I'm sure that's happening these days, right?
Absolutely. Okay, look, we put out something. Look, uncomfortable situations in sobriety, like the one I put out there about you seeing somebody in a restaurant, they're drinking. What do, Mark? Do you say something to them? Do you text them maybe? Do you do nothing? And there's a lot of things to consider. Whatever choice you make, there's things that could happen if you do it. Such as, you know, our buddy Mark Willig said to me today, you could see somebody in a restaurant, you think they're drinking, and it's not alcohol in there. So what do you do? Listen, audience, give us a call. Let Mark and myself know at 1-888-728-9941, 1-888-728-9941. How do you handle, when you're in recovery, somebody else who is doing some stuff or whatever the situation is? How do you handle these kind of uncomfortable situations?
I mean, that situation right there, and you said it, but, you know, maybe they're one of those people that drinks non-alcoholic drinks or, you know, which we don't recommend, by the way, or
correct.
soda, or that would stink if you went up to them and you were, and it turns out they're like, no, it's a soda. But in all seriousness, I wouldn't really say anything. I would maybe like talk to them later, just like normal, and see if they bring it up, you know. But I don't think I would say. I think I would feel uncomfortable, you know, saying anything.
I was in that situation one time.
Really?
20 years ago. I didn't do anything, but I was so embarrassed when the other and I was sitting like at the next table. They should have been embarrassed. I was so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, you know, it brings to mind, so I play hockey on a men's league team. And at one point, everybody on the team has to bring beer to the game at one point. Yeah. And I would end up on this list. I probably should have said I couldn't do it, but I remember going in and buying it for the team. I don't drink, you know, but I thought to myself, I'm like, what if somebody's coming by and sees me coming out with a case of beer?
I felt the same thing.
Yeah?
Seriously, even standing in front of a beer distributor, what if somebody thinks I'm going in there?
Absolutely.
It's so weird. By the way, let's acknowledge Mark had an accident while playing hockey. He probably broke his wrist and his lip has stitches and he fell flat on his face.
It was not cool. I was playing roller hockey with my son and a couple friends, and a rock got caught in my rollerblades, and I did a face plant. My tooth went through my lip. I mean, it was really, really bad, you know.
Very painful, huh?
Very, very painful, you know. And it's fun. You know what's the worst is you just want to get this taken care of, right? So I go to the urgent care.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
And the urgent care basically cleans it out and is like, no, this is too bad. You got to go to the ER. So I had waited at the urgent care, then had to go to the ER after that.
Look, first of all, I want to acknowledge you had a birthday, okay?
Yes.
So it's happy birthday for you.
Yes.
And I just might want you to consider, I'm not going to say your age, Mark, but at this point in your life, maybe you should stop with these games.
I turned 50 on March 11th, and within 2 days, I'm in the hospital with a messed up wrist and 4 stitches in my lip. So
well, we're glad you weren't really hurt. Really, you could have lost all your teeth.
That's what I thought was going to happen. I just have one chipped tooth, and that's it.
That's nothing.
You know? Yes,
and you'll get better.
Yes,
but next time, how about chess or Do some crossword puzzles.
I thought about taking up golf, golf or
Yeah, there
something
you
like
go.
that, but we'll see. I'm definitely not going to rollerblade anymore. I'll tell you that much because all my injuries happen rollerblading.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
It's So okay, so look, here's some different scenarios. What if you knew that a friend of yours or a loved one was seeing a doctor that was writing bad paper, meaning writing prescriptions that he shouldn't? Do you dime the doctor out?
That's.
Do you do nothing? Do you call the doctor?
I mean, that's a really tough one. You know, if I was real close with somebody, maybe I would talk to them and. The problem is if they're really hooked, I feel like they'll just find somebody else, and maybe they're getting opiates at the doctor and they get cut off and they go on the street and get fentanyl. There's a lot of different things that go into that I would be worried about. How about you, Gary?
How about me? What?
How would you handle that?
If it was a loved one of mine that was supplying the person with dope, I call the police. The police.
The police, 50.
509. Or I'd have to handle it myself.
Or if it was somebody that was writing for your loved one, right?
For a kid, one of our kids.
See, that would be a different story.
Okay, that's an look. We want to hear from our audience.
Yes.
1-888-728-9941. There's a lot of our audience that are watching us right now, and we see who you are.
Yes, we do.
We see who you are, Kevin Heyer, among others. And why don't you call us and let us know your thoughts on this stuff? We would like to know. We really would.
Or any other, uncomfortable situations that you run into.
Yeah. Hey, I want to tell you what I did yesterday.
Let's hear it.
So yesterday I was at the prison, which I'm a Montgomery County Correctional. I'm one of the directors. And I had that all morning, 4 or 5 hours. And then I was invited to go to see the coroner at the morgue, which is on the grounds of Montgomery County Correctional. So I saw all sorts of crazy stuff in there. And then when I left, I thought to myself, you know what? If I was still using, I would have ended up either of the two places I was at this morning, the morgue or the prison.
Wow. That's a moment of clarity for you right there.
That was a real moment of clarity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's I work with a lot of, veterans, firefighters, things like that.
Yeah.
And just some of the stories that you hear just blow me away. And things like that definitely keep it clear.
Don't they?
Yeah, they say jails, institutions, and death. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, and when you're able to go in these places, like we were walking around, Dr. Janine Darby is the coroner from Montgomery County. She's a lovely person. We were walking through the hallway, and she said to me, "Don't look to your left."
No.
And Mark,
of course,
I wanted to. I couldn't.
You didn't.
I couldn't because I didn't want to disrespect her.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go because she said there's two bodies in there. Just keep walking.
Oh my gosh.
You would have looked.
I would have been
hard not to, right?
Yes, I think I might have just kind of peered out of the side of my eye, and yes.
I went like this.
You did.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I mean that's kind of scary. I loss of words.
And then she took me in a room where they keep samples of the bodies in some kind of formaldehyde, and I'm looking in these jars. There are people in there, pieces.
Yeah.
And she, what she said? If it's a homicide, the jars are never thrown out; they're kept forever.
Really?
Yeah, I guess for cases that
Yeah,
have to be
yeah.
solved. Who knows? But I guess the one other point I'm making is any of us could end up, as they say, in jail or in the morgue.
Yeah, and then can I tell you another thing about sort of the pathology of the brain and addiction?
Yeah.
So if you get normally if they're doing an autopsy,
Yeah.
and they take somebody's brain out, it stays together. It stays together, and it'll stay kind of in the form. A very heavy alcoholic, a lot of times if they put the brain out, it's going to sort of disintegrate right onto the table. It doesn't stay together.
Because of the alcohol, what it did to the brain.
What it did to the brain.
Is that where they get the term wet brain?
Well, wet brain is another term for the term Korsakoff syndrome, right? And it's like alcoholic dementia. And that happens because there's a certain B vitamin. I think it's B7. So maybe one of our guys could look it up. But there's a certain B vitamin that when you're drinking heavily, your brain gets depleted of this B vitamin. And that's what leads to the dementia. I'm not sure if that's what leads to the brain just kind of like falling down on the table and coming apart. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very serious condition. It's usually very late stage alcoholism. And we do suggest a lot of times in rehab and things like that, they'll give people heavy doses of vitamins. And, and I suggested to heavy drinkers before to take vitamins.
Let me ask you something. So that condition is not corrected by stopping drinking?
No, unfortunately, it is irreversible. That dementia, it's irreversible. I don't know. Maybe there's been cases where they reversed it, but from everything I've heard is that you can't really, once it crosses that line, you can't reverse it.
I remember when I was in rehab, there was a guy there, I don't remember his name, and they said he had wet brain. And he had that alcoholic gait, how they walk, their legs are like sort of spread apart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gosh, it's amazing what this does to your body,
Definitely.
The liver's a whole nother thing we could get into.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we had a lot of emails this week. Let's go to one of them. Bill W., not the Bill W., but Bill W. from Lehigh Valley. I hear that a drug named Trank is killing people. What is it?
So Trank is a mixture of fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
Fentanyl and ketamine, right?
Is that what it is? Is that what
well,
that is?
it doesn't have to be ketamine. It's some kind of animal tranquilizers. It's mixed in. And, they're tweaking these things, chemically down in Mexico, I believe, right? And they're tweaking these things. And it's the tough part about that is some of this stuff is they'll be withdrawing somebody from opioids or opiates, and they'll not be treating the withdrawal from some kind of weird chemical that's being put in there. And so you're seeing some nasty withdrawal.
I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Maybe we didn't mention it here. A friend of mine is an emergency room doctor, and he showed me a picture. I swear I thought it was a cheesesteak with mushrooms on it.
Yeah.
And I said, what's this? He goes, it's somebody who has been a user of xylazine, which is Trank.
Yeah.
And I asked him, well, what do you do when it's at this stage? And he said, the only thing we can do is amputate.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. You're seeing kids 24 years old, 25 years old, and, down in downtown Philadelphia and Kensington, there's some people in wheelchairs because of this, where they're having to cut off limbs and things from the skin. I think it's like an irritation that ends up cutting the blood flow off, and it might be there. Sometimes I think it's caused by a certain bacteria too that gets in there. I remember when I was in San Francisco, I was seeing that years ago, just from people doing IV drug use. You would see some of that, these skin issues, but it's really, really nasty stuff. And I'm really hoping that this fentanyl and stuff starts getting stopped at the border. I mean, I'm really hoping, that we make some strides on this, because it would be nice to put this behind us.
Yeah. And Mark, it seems like there's also now something else that has come on the market, which is stronger than fentanyl. It just seems like it doesn't stop. How's it going to stop?
I'm telling you, it's unbelievable, because then you heard about carfentanil, and everybody's kind of desensitized to this stuff at this point, when they're like, This could kill 10 million people, and but yeah, it just seems to be going up and up, and the drug dealers it's not expensive for them to make this stuff, this synthetic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And it's easy to smuggle in. So I don't know when it's going to stop. I think we just got to stop the demand for it, which I'm hearing that the younger generations are starting to catch on to.
Good.
So that's positive.
That's good.
Right there.
So, Mark, if you found out, not your son, but let's say you had a son that was being supplied with drugs by another kid in his class, would you call the kids' parents?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And I would also threaten to call the police. Well, it's funny because, and we got to look at this because when it's when there's somebody that you know that you see doing this stuff, it's funny the difference between how you would handle it as compared to your own kid. And maybe we should be handling it like we'd be handling it with our own kid. But I would absolutely call possibly the police, but first the parents, see if we can get a hold of it. How about you?
Oh, in that situation, I definitely would. I'd also call the school. But you know what? Why does it, what you said is true. It depends on the scenario, who's involved with this. It really shouldn't be. Even if it's not your kid and it's somebody else's kid, should we still go through the same process?
I mean, I guess ethically we should.
Yeah, I know. But then, what can happen? The parents, then you get into an argument with the parents. Not my son. It gets into then you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Accusing my son of this.
Man, then your head goes in weird places,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and you worry that like if you reach out to the police or something, the kid's going to get in all kinds of trouble, and
it's complicated, isn't it?
It is. It's very complicated.
So if you're listening to Mark and myself right now on any 50 different devices, you can also watch us. Go to our webpage, Clean and Sober Radio on Facebook, and you can see us right now live, like these good folks: Bill Nolan, Carlos Ricardo, Judge Christopher Maddox is watching, Kevin Heyer. Oh, Judge Maddox told us he's from Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Philadelphia.
And I want to give a shout out to Bill Nolan. He plays on my hockey team.
Does he?
Yes.
Hello,
Bill.
I hope he's a better hockey player than you are, Mark.
I don't think he knows about this injury, by the way.
Steven Sussman is watching from, I think it's Palm Beach. Hey, buddy. It is Palm Beach Gardens. Ken Garrity, Andrea Diaz.
Ah, my beautiful wife.
Who helped you last night in your times of trial.
She was amazing.
Mike Burke, C. Ruger. Mike Burke, Media Pennsylvania. That's their program. And whom am I to judge? That's as a response to our question. So he's saying, let it be. Linda Carroll. Hey, Carol. Let's see. Speedy recovery to Mark.
Thank
Allison
you.
Price Berwick. Kevin Heyer. I think it comes down to your relationship with this person. Well, it sounds that way, the way we're responding to this, but why does it? Mark Willink is
Hello,
watching.
Mark.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Marlene Reese Lerner is watching. Hey, Marlene. Jim Bilderback is watching, one of my buddies from down the shore. Great, great, great guy. Great. Hear your show again. Have a great day. Love the information you guys provide. Thank you so much, Jim. Linda Garrity is watching. Linda, how are you? I actually drove past your house today. We got a lot of people watching.
Nice.
Let's do this. I think we're getting a signal. We have to take a break. When we come back, guys, think about it and give us a call.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hi, I'm Billy J. Kramer, and I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
That's Billy J. Kramer. You're too young to realize. He had hit records. Every hit record he had was written by John Lennon.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I had him on the show here about 8 years ago. It was amazing. So, okay, we're back. We're talking about uncomfortable situations in recovery and sobriety. Mark, if you saw me in a restaurant, okay, and I had a bottle of Schlitz, I don't know what are the names,
Schlitz
beer,
Schlitz.
and I'm drinking out of the bottle, and you're in across the room, what would you do?
I would run out of that restaurant.
You would run out of the restaurant.
I know Gary Hendler, and I would not approach him and say anything. I would run out of the restaurant, and I'd forget I ever knew it happened. That's exactly what I would do.
Okay. I want to get another opinion. Brad, our chief everything guy here, what would you do, Brad?
What's the question, Gary?
You're in a restaurant. You see me across the room, and I'm drinking a beer.
Oh, my. I'd go over and say hi.
Would you?
Maybe sniff it, make sure that I'm sure what it is.
You say, "Can I sniff what you're drinking?"
Yeah, right.
Is that what you would say?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Brad coming
No.
over to you.
So, Gary, what are you having there? Yeah, everything okay, pal?
I think knowing
I can see
you,
it.
Yeah.
you wouldn't say a word.
Probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say.
I think, who was it said they're working their own program?
Yeah, listen.
it's like,
if
who
it
am I
was
to
reversed,
judge?
I wouldn't go up to you. I would be so uncomfortable. I wouldn't go up to you.
But you would say something later. You would.
I don't know, man.
Oh, Gary doesn't. He doesn't hold back.
Yeah, I guess I would.
I think good friends would.
Yeah.
Talk
So
it
the
out.
difference between Brad and myself, Brad would go, and Mark, so everything okay? And I would say, hey, Mark, what the?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be running out of that place so quickly. I feel like I did not
I
see
saw
it.
nothing.
I'm not pretending it never happened.
Is our audience that uncomfortable with this subject they can't call it?
I think so. And with all our listeners and everything, that people have run into these uncomfortable situations before.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah. Have you ever had the thing where you were at a social event and you picked up a drink that you thought was a soda or something and drank it?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Newly in recovery, a friend of mine was getting married, who has since passed, Bill G. He had two big things of liquid.
Yeah.
One was alcohol and one wasn't. And there were people that were, you pull the lever down and you drink. And then, that's not a slip. That's just, they should have known better. These not the people that drank, the people that held the party. My God. Because the groom was in recovery himself.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I've never actually taken a whole swig of something,
I took a swig, but I didn't swallow it. I took a swig and...
Okay, Bill Clinton. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, God. That sounds like the...
Yeah.
And just like, went and spit it out.
That's a scary thing.
It is. I usually will smell it.
Yeah.
I smell it first.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
one time I just, picked it up and, I'm like, yeah. So.
Yeah, it's weird, I mean, I was telling, the thing about you look across the room and somebody's drinking. In fact, I was talking to Mark W. this morning, and I said, listen, if you were in Jamaica with me, I'm drinking pina coladas all day long, but there's no whatever, was it rum or something? But there's nothing in it, so you do have to be careful to approach somebody and accuse.
I mean, especially, I guess it's in the way you do it. If you went up to somebody, you're like, you're drinking.
Yeah, right. His whole family, her whole family sitting there.
The whole restaurant goes quiet, and he's like, this is a dry pina colada.
Right. Yo, buddy, you started this?
I'm so sorry. I'll see you at the meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah. 1-888-728-9941. Call us and let us know if you've ever been in a situation like that. Or if you haven't, but what would you do in a situation like that? What Mark Willick says, when you're in recovery, never take someone else's inventory. It could kill somebody. Near beer gets you near drunk.
And that's interesting. And that I've been reading the comments, and that has been sort of the group consensus is to not judge, to not take somebody's inventory. And I don't know if what they mean by that is to not say anything. Maybe they could clarify on that, or call us at 888-728-9941.
It's interesting. Linda Garrity says, not for me to judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, look, there are different personalities in these rooms and everything. There's AA Nazis, That's the term they use for someone who knows everything and is watching everything you do and is judging how your program is. And there's others who just don't do it. That's
Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. That's for sure. And yeah, it's when somebody does have a setback, a lot of times I've had in the past where I've had friends that have had setbacks, and if they were going to keep drinking and stuff, is they go dark. You can't.
Yeah, you can't
call
reach
them. You can't reach them.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
go dark.
Oh yeah. It's weird.
Life we live.
It's the complications in recovery. If you let it become complications.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And for anybody that's new and just coming in the program, don't take this as go hang out in bars, right? I mean, it's you got to be really, really careful, of people, places, and things that we talk about, because of being triggered, But as you go through recovery, you're going to run into weddings and things like that, and you could run into some of these situations, or you're out to dinner, and so.
And I guess if I continue with what you were saying, and if you're new and somebody says, do you want to drink? First of all, absolutely don't think like you have to have a drink, and just say no. And even if they start pressing you, just say, I don't drink. You don't have to give any reasons, but there will be people who press you for, either they don't understand what it's like to be in recovery, or they're just creeps.
Yeah, and as a therapist, sometimes we actually plan in advance what you can say in situations that come up. And, some people choose to say they're in recovery.
Yeah.
We get some people that kind of, I guess that, they'll say they're on antibiotics or something. Some people are really uncomfortable with it. But yeah, just having a plan on how you're going to handle that situation is important.
I heard a funny thing. I guess you've heard it. Somebody says it to you, why don't you drink? And you say, I'm allergic to alcohol. Every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs.
Completely accurate.
Right?
Completely accurate. The disease concept, right? An allergy of the body, obsession of the mind.
That's a good one.
The two of them combined.
That's right. By the way, I like your shirt, man.
Oh, thank you.
Hero. And you're a hero of what?
Yeah, no, this is for working with heroes.
Oh, it's where you work?
Yes.
Where you working again?
Yeah, Pennsylvania Recovery Centers and Cherry Hill Recovery Centers.
And you actually specialize?
Yes, we have a specialization called the Heroes Program, where we treat people that have trauma, police, firefighters, nurses,
first
responders. We have a special carve-out program called the Heroes Program. So it's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
It is, and I'll tell you what, working with the heroes is just the most remarkable thing.
Is it different than working with regular folks?
It is.
Tell us how.
It is. Well, there's certain codes that go along with police and firemen, and there's certain codes where they really like to work with each other because there's sort of a bond there, and they have this shared experience of going through very difficult trauma, seeing lots of things on it sometimes affects their families, and they can really relate to each other, and they open up a lot more, because a lot of times in the regular group, sometimes they have a hard time, especially if it's police and you get them and they're in the room and they're worried they may have arrested somebody, so there is a code there. There's a special code, and I'm not a first responder, and I'll tell you what, we've had first responders, they really, really trust them, first responders.
They trust who?
If somebody's a first responder, they'll trust them usually more than just a normal person, Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, because only having gone through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really, really good work.
It's interesting. Gene K. from Tampa, Florida asked us, Mark, guys, what do you think about legalizing other drugs besides marijuana, like cocaine and stuff like that?
Such a difficult one.
Jesus.
You know? What do you think, Gary?
I'm totally against it.
Yeah, I have played with the idea of legalizing heroin. I mean, it sounds crazy, but because of the fentanyl out there, like some of the people that are really, really hooked, they're just out using fentanyl and they're going to die, and I have played with that in my head. I've never come to a conclusion, but it's what we call harm reduction.
I know. I just think if we go look into the future, 5 or 10 years, everything's going to be legalized. It won't be a perfect system at all.
Yeah.
There'll be so many complications and people dying, but it's all about the dollar.
Yeah, and you wonder in a situation like that if it's actually going to cut down on the deaths, with heroin in particular because of the fentanyl. But, you take legalizing of marijuana and, a lot of people didn't think about it, but people are not only going out intoxicated on alcohol, but they're also mixed with marijuana, and you get people that are not normally using marijuana, and they're the ones that are even more prone to accidents. So it's pretty scary out there. You smell it on the roads when you're driving.
Oh, I know, man.
Everywhere.
It stinks. I would, let's just say I was still out there, I wouldn't be using marijuana. You know why? I didn't like it back then. I just didn't like the whole feeling of it. So when it's legal, would I then or anybody else who wasn't using anything, would they start to use marijuana? I'm sure there's a percentage of people. And I think, and you would know better than me, it's older people.
Yeah, it's interesting because as a therapist, I haven't really come across anybody at this point that has said, I just started smoking marijuana when it became legal, and now I got a problem. Most everybody that I've run into had been smoking it already.
Yeah, right.
So it is interesting, that if they were going to have a problem, they went out and found it already, Yeah.
I mean, I would have wished, if they legalized Quaaludes, what would happen?
Well, they were legal, weren't they?
No.
By prescription.
Oh, by prescription, yeah.
Yes, that's, by the way, that's what I mean with the heroin thing. By prescription.
Okay.
In an environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But that, I want to tell you, I'm thinking about that. If Quaaludes came on the market, let's just say without prescription, that would be very difficult for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Let me just I'll take one. It's not going to do anything. I'll just take one just to remember. That would be really messed up.
It's the, and a lot of times I feel bad for, people where their main thing was alcohol and it's all over the place, right?
How do you do that?
Yeah, it's one thing if you can't get it or it's not readily available. So it's a tough world out there, and it is a lot of money in this whole thing, right?
Yeah. Here's an interesting question we got presented to us. Barbara L. from St. Paul's, Minnesota. Does Minnesota touch Canada?
No. That's my guess. But maybe we could get a fact check on our Facebook.
Steve Sussman better call in.
Yes, he'll tell us whether Minnesota touches Canada, but I don't believe it does. I
think it does for some reason.
It's the land of 10,000 lakes, and there's a lot of lakes.
Oh, I thought it was the Great Lakes. Anyway, that's how stupid I am. Okay, she says, can you try to talk some positive stuff, some numbers on how many are doing? How there's so many people doing well. Here's what I can tell you, because I read this and I got some information. There are over 22 million of us in recovery in this country. And that represents 9% of all the adults in this country.
Wow.
So almost 1 out of 10 is in recovery.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's real. Yeah, I've seen that in a lot of places. But almost 23 million of us are in recovery. In Pennsylvania alone, there are 500,000 people in recovery.
Wow. And you've said it a lot. You said that we could sway an election.
Absolutely.
Actually sway an election.
Any election. If all of us in recovery agreed.
Yeah.
Because just because you're in recovery, You're not smart like you and me.
And, you know, one of the things I love about recovery is you really don't hear a lot of political stuff at meetings.
No, you don't.
You know, and I mean, every once in a while you'll hear something, but it's not, people could believe in whatever and nobody really holds it against them.
That's a good point.
You
You never hear anything like that.
You don't. I mean, it's only, the last 10 years where it's been so divisive, last 10, 15 years. I mean, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's do another right now, okay?
All right, let's hear it.
Frank G. from Spokane, Washington. I lived in Spokane.
You did?
Yeah.
Did it rain all the time?
Well, I don't know because I was there for a week. I was in law school there for a week.
Oh, for a week. And then then what happened?
That was the second law school. The first one was
Okay.
Miami. And then it was Spokane, Washington. Both schools were messed up. They didn't want me there.
Yeah, I think it was the school.
They were stupid.
I think
it was the school. Of course it was.
Absolutely.
What is the most abused drug? Heroin, cocaine, perks?
The most abused drug out of those?
Yeah, no, out of any of them.
Alcohol?
Absolutely.
And alcohol is the most deaths
Yeah.
per year. Like people
Yep.
always focus on the opioids, but I think it's an insane amount. I don't remember what it is, 250,000, something like that. I don't remember, but it's an
really?
insane amount
Yeah.
of alcohol related.
Related. So it could be you're intoxicated and you crash.
Yeah.
That's an alcohol related death, right?
Liver.
Liver.
Big. And, you know, the crazy thing is that we are seeing more and more liver issues, you know, and females are more susceptible to it. But something's going on where people are getting younger and younger.
It's young. I was going to ask you, Mark. It's younger and younger.
It's younger and younger. You're getting some, you know, I had somebody I was working with, about 2 years ago, 30 years old, you know, and was going into, you know, cirrhosis. You know, at 30 years old.
Cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah, I had a teacher one time, 37, and passed away, you know, and it was from liver.
Or our buddy, the baseball player from Philadelphia. What was his name?
Which one?
Cirrhosis of the liver.
From our baseball player?
Yeah. I'm blanking on his name. He's such a...
Dyke? No. Not that. A baseball player?
Yeah.
This is going to come to us after the show.
This is because of our age.
I know, and that's what I'm glad. Maybe
Reggie.
Are you thinking? I don't know. I don't know who this is. Not Reggie Jackson, right?
No.
He was not a Philly. He was not a Philadelphia Philly.
I am so embarrassed.
Yeah. Would I know? Was there a guest on here before?
Yeah, plenty.
Oh, Randy Lurch.
Randy
Lurch.
Right.
We got to get
Randy,
him back.
we're sorry. I just had I had an elder moment because of Mark's birthday.
And he called you Reggie.
Because I totally blanked. Oh, God. I'm so embarrassed. We know Randy really, really
well. And I got to say, he's got one of the most amazing stories. When you guys got to tune in the next time.
Yeah, we'll get him on.
Randy Lurch is on.
Yeah. All right. I think, we got another minute.
Got another
2
minute.
minutes before we have a break. 888-728-9941. Our audience today is chicken. They won't call in. This is such an easy topic to discuss because it doesn't blame anybody. I mean, if you call in, you're not being blamed. If you don't want to call in, don't call in.
And we'll just talk.
We'll just talk about you.
And we'll talk
who
about
won't call
you.
in. You know.
Yes.
And if you're listening or watching right now, we are talking about uncomfortable situations in recovery, such as, watching somebody drink who you've seen in AA meetings, hearing about a doctor that's writing bad paper, maybe a neighbor or a friend is giving your kid drugs. There's 100 different scenarios that are uncomfortable, at the very least.
How about the big one? Big one that I hear is
What?
Dealing with social situations when you're sober, right? And I just get a lot of people coming in that are really uncomfortable. You know, they're used to using alcohol or using something to kind of deal with social situations.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest phobias out there is public speaking. You know, so social situations can be very uncomfortable.
Are you uncomfortable? You're not. I mean, we speak all the time. Are you uncomfortable, social speak?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not at all, man.
Oh, come on. I mean, I don't get it badly.
Yeah.
But I get nervous pretty much well, we used to be much worse with this, but within like a minute of the show, I get a little my nerves are going.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather speak to 1,000 people than 10.
I don't know. I mean, if I was asked to speak to 1,000 people, I'd be pretty nervous.
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the subject matter would be something you know so well. It's just the idea of
all those people looking at you, and I get it. Even in group, I sometimes get a little nervous, and I don't know what it is. I've been doing group since like 2007. And I guess just for some of us, that's just something we deal with.
All right, listen, we're getting yelled at right now.
Are we?
Tyler, we got to go to a
see
break.
Him behind the glass.
We're going to a break, and when we come back, come on, guys, give us a call. Let's talk about this subject. We'll be right back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hi, this is Dion, the Wanderer. Listen to
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hi, this is Randy the Blade Lurch. I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
All right, we're back, and we're talking about uncomfortable situations. Look, if you don't want to call in and talk about that, why don't you call in and tell us how this show helps you, and if we're doing a good job or there's some things that you would like to see different. But let's talk about how this show impacts your life. It's important to us. That's why we do this show. 1-888-728-9941.
That was a great. We did that a couple weeks ago, and got all kinds of people calling in, and we'd love to hear ideas. Of how to kind of expand this and help more people.
That's why we do this, right?
Yeah, I was thinking we got to get our musician back in.
Which one?
Mike Brill. Remember when he played guitar on here? That was phenomenal.
I'd rather see Eric Clapton come in here. But
we should, but we maybe get more musicians.
Well, look,
they tell their story.
Here's what I'm thinking. Last week's guest was Kristen Casey, Joe Walsh's old girlfriend. I'm going to call her this week and ask her, can you help me get Joe Walsh on the show? He's in recovery long term. And then if we get him on the show, his brother-in-law is Ringo Starr. So that would be cool, right?
That would be super cool. And for people that aren't familiar, Joe Walsh is a member of the band The Eagles.
Was a member of the band The Eagles. Had a really horrible addiction with Kristen.
Yeah.
Both in long-term recovery. She's wonderful. She is lovely. And Joe Walsh is married to, how can I say this? Ringo Starr's wife's sister.
I thought she was fantastic, and I thought it was fascinating to hear about what it was like on the road, And she sounded like she was just a very optimistic person, Wild.
I'm surprised. Did you ask her your famous question, Mark?
If she knew Jerry Garcia? I did not ask that question.
Jerry Garcia.
And she probably did. Next time she's on, I promise I will ask that question.
I'm going to get you Ben and Jerry's Jerry Garcia ice cream. All right, that's about as close as we're going to get with this. Let's see who else has been knocking on.
Tuning in.
You got anything?
Yeah, we got a lot of Jim Meehan. He's talking about a lot of different things. Weeds never his thingy, he calls it.
Neither, man.
Yeah, and, Randy's a great speaker.
Randy Lurch is a great speaker.
And he also says, leave age out of it, you gins.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
You gins.
I don't know.
Is that like octogen? I mean, it's like...
Yeah, I don't know.
You gins.
Gins. Yeah.
What's that mean?
Gins. Gins.
Maybe he can't spell.
Yeah, it might just be a spelling thing,
what a bit.
It's interesting. The weather's been changing, and I got to tell you, we didn't say the suicide hotline again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
988 is the suicide hotline, because this is, believe it or not, the worst time of year for suicides is it when spring comes around.
I can totally understand.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong. It's getting nice out. You hear the birds outside, a lot more people running around, walking around, and you're sitting there isolating, and it's really, really sad. Because at this time of the year, it's expected that you're out there doing stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And also some people will be so depressed, and then once the light comes back, they'll get enough energy to think of a plan and do it. So
let me just say, give you another number. If you or a loved one is in trouble and you need help, please call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP. Easy number, 1-800-662-HELP. Put it on your refrigerator with the suicide hotline, because you never, ever know when you're going to need it. Just like hopefully you have poison control on your refrigerator or a hospital's number. Put these two numbers on your refrigerator, because you don't want to start scrambling when you have to.
Yes, and get Narcan.
Yeah.
Get it right over the counter. Get it. Keep it in your house, especially if you have kids, right?
Yeah.
With all this poison floating around right now, it could save someone's life.
Listen, as long as you're alive, you can get it. You can get help out there, and you can help. You can fix it. Mark and I are a great example. We got a lot of decades together in sobriety, and where people probably thought we wouldn't be here in 2025 for sure. And so just don't give up. Don't waste your life. I mean, Mark, I know I wasted years and years and years. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You just don't do it.
And we see it all the time where it takes multiple treatments to get clean, but if you keep doing it, you will get clean eventually. In the vast majority of cases, if you keep doing the treatment, you keep doing the work. And I'll bet there's somebody sitting out here right now that's isolated and doesn't know whether they have an issue or not, but they think they do. Go see a therapist, get an evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary thing to get help. Help is scary for a lot of reasons. But, we're just begging you guys to get help. Don't waste your life. Mark and I are the lucky ones, for real.
And AA meetings are all over, and people won't judge you. So if you don't see a counselor, just go to an AA meeting and you'll get some help there.
Yeah, nobody judges.
Yes.
Yes. Most people don't judge, But, okay, we are...
rolling along.
We're rolling along. Tyler, are we about finished? Oh, here we are. Okay. Remember, if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, help is available. Please call 1-800-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. For Clean and Sober Radio, I'm Gary Hendler.
I'm Mark Sigmund.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you, everybody, for all the support you have given us over the decade-plus years. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Tyler. Mark, of course. Great show. Everybody have a safe, peaceful, and clean weekend. We'll see you later. That's a wrap.